Hello viewers, here's a video on an interview for a teaching job. Many of you have been asking for this video, so I have prepared this video for all of you. But it does not only refer to people who are going to appear for a teaching job. Everybody can benefit from this video. For the beginners, it's a conversation which you can try to understand and try to remember and repeat. It will be a good practice for you to read the questions and answers again and again so that your ability to express English becomes better. For those of you who are at a higher level, you can look at the questions, you can look at the situation, and you can alter the answers as you feel like. You can alter it according to what your experience may have been, or you can alter it to fit into your subject. Here the teaching job we're talking about is of an English teacher in a school. But if you are looking for a job in some other field, if you are qualified in some other subject, then you have to remember that you need to change the pattern accordingly. That is why I have given it in smaller sections. When you hear the interview, you will find that these small sections help you to prepare for any kind of interview, not only the interview of a teaching job, but other interviews too. This is a practical demonstration of what you might face when you go for an interview. An interview is not only for jobs. Every time you want to get a promotion also, you may have to appear for an interview. You may have to make presentations. You may have to demonstrate your skills and your knowledge. All these aspects are covered in this interview. So I've given you one long series of slides which tell you about the various aspects starting from the job search to applying and then facing the interview, different patterns of questions which are asked in the interview. If you watch till the end, only then you get benefited because you see all aspects of what an interview is all about. For those of you who ask specifically for English teachers interview, I'm sure this video will help you immensely because you can put in your capabilities into the places where the answers are. Remember, the answers I've given you are only possibilities, but when you are doing it for yourself, you must put in your actual abilities. That is most important. Now let us move on to how the job search begins and then how you apply for the job before the interview starts. These are two important processes. Let us begin. Amar searches for a job. Amar and Deep meet in a park. Deep says, "Hi Amar, how have you been? What are you doing these days?" Amar says, "Hello Deep, it's nice to see you after a long time. I'm fine, but I'm searching for a job. Do you know of any openings for teaching English?" Deep says, "Oh yes. The school where I work is going to advertise for an English teacher to teach class 10. Would you be interested?" Amar says, "Yes, that sounds good. I think I will be suitable for the job. I shall apply when the vacancy is advertised." Deep says, "Get your resume updated then. Make it suitable for the post. And prepare well for the interview. All the best. Amar says, "Thank you. I shall do as you say." Amar submits the job application at the principal's office in Deep's school. Amar says, "Excuse me, where should I submit my application for the post of English teacher that you have advertised for?" The clerk says, "You can submit it at the special counter in the next room. You must give your resume and a cover letter." Amar says, "I have those ready." Then clerk says, "Please go to the counter then and give in your application. Also, keep the acknowledgement carefully. You will have to bring it on the day of the interview." Amar says, "Thank you, I shall." I've just seen the first two steps. Amar asks his friend Deep to suggest if there is any job available. And he also tells him what job he is looking for. You must remember that very often this concept is called a referral. Somebody is already working somewhere, you ask that person to help you find a job or ask that person to recommend you for a job. That is what Deep does, and Deep also tells him what to do by giving two pieces of advice. One is that prepare a resume, and the second is prepare for the interview. These are very important points which Deep makes, and Amar says that he will do exactly that. Now, how a resume is to be prepared, what kind of a cover letter has to be written, these are all videos I hope I will make in the future. But I'm sure all of you who are applying for a job now already know how to do this. So there is no worry, you have it ready. Many places where you are applying might have an application form. They have a form in which you need to fill all the details. But that does not mean that you should not give a resume and cover letter also. Just that application might be enough for some places. In some places, they expect you to do that. They also expect you to give in a cover letter and a resume. Especially since this person is applying for an English teacher's job, they might test whether he is able to teach the students how to write a resume by looking at his own resume. Also, can he write a cover letter? Because he might have to teach that to the students. So all these are expected of Amar. Amar goes to the school and submits his application, as all of you have seen. And once he has submitted it, he is asked to do something very important. Do you remember what he is asked to do? Think about it for a minute. He is asked to take an acknowledgement, a piece of paper which says that you have submitted the application on such and such a date at this time. That slip of paper he should bring for the interview. That is what he's told. Because you must remember that a person might come for the interview without having applied. Sometimes we have interviews like that. It is called a walk-in interview. So you have a big company saying that we have a walk-in interview next Monday. People can just go there with their resume, nothing to fill, nothing to do, no need to submit an application beforehand. It's just you go on the spur of the moment and you appear for an interview. That is a possibility. But here in this job, it's not like that. The job has been advertised, and based on that advertisement, Amar is applying for the job. He's been asked to fill in the application form and go to the counter where he has to submit the form, because many people must be coming to submit. A school might be recruiting for all subjects, not only English. Amar is applying for English, so we are only looking at him. But what about the others? Then we see that as we progress, the interview, now he has to bring that slip of paper, he has to bring all his certificates, he has to bring, if he has claimed some other certification other than his qualification, his experience, all these things are required. Unless you produce these things, that you cannot really complete your interview. That's the first thing they ask. Let us now go on to the actual interview. This is where all of you will find it interesting. Amar's interview begins. The headmaster says, "Please come in and sit down." Amar, "Thank you, sir." The principal says, "Have you brought all your original certificates?" Amar says, "Yes, madam, I have them here with me." The headmaster says, "Show us your documents for verification. You can collect them from the office after the interviews are completed." Amar's interview continues. This is the introduction. Principal, now tell us something about yourself. Amar says, "Madam, my name is Amar. I live in this city and have done my education here. I'm a postgraduate in English. I have also completed my B.Ed degree with specialization in English. I'm eager to take up a position as English teacher. I'm confident that I shall be suitable for this position, as I have the skills needed for the job." Principal says, "That's good. Do you have any experience of teaching?" Amar's interview continues. This part is about experience. Amar says, "Not in a regular position, ma'am. I have been teaching 10th class students at home for the last 2 years." The headmaster asks, "What did you teach them?" Amar replies, "I was helping them with their English syllabus. And I'm happy to say that all of them got good marks in English during their examinations." Amar's interview about his experience continues. The headmaster says, "In our school, you will have to teach not only the English syllabus, but also take some spoken English classes for the vernacular medium students." Amar says, "I will be able to do this, sir, as I worked for 6 months in an institute where I took classes for spoken English." The principal says, "All right. Now I shall request our subject expert, Miss Annie, to ask you some questions. Miss Annie, please." You have seen how the interview begins, where Amar greets all the people and he sits down when he's asked to sit. Very important part of the interview is where you are asked to introduce yourself. The way in which you introduce yourself gives the interviewer enough idea about what questions they should ask you. So your introduction is actually a document which tells them that these are the areas in which this candidate should be questioned. If you do not give a good introduction, then you do not have the chance of being asked what you are strong in. What are your strengths? They won't know unless you are able to make it clear. So, in your introduction, there should be enough about experience. Of course, here he's asked about his experience. And then he tells about his experience, what he's capable of, what his qualifications are, and what his experience is, which will help him in this position. The question is, why should they hire this person? Why should they not hire somebody else? Therefore, you have to stress on what you are capable of. What are the strengths you are bringing to this job? What is it that, the organization will benefit if they give you the job? These are the things you have to clearly explain in the introduction, and the experience part, which of course is done separately here. He's asked about experience and then he speaks. Otherwise, you can combine it all in one, starting with who you are, what your qualification is, what your experience is, what are your skills, and what all you are capable of doing. All these you can also include in your introduction. So when you have heard this introduction, you can now start framing. If you're appearing for an interview, you start preparing. If you are not appearing for an interview, you just enjoy this as a conversation to learn English from. Now let us move to the actual interview. The actual interview will contain subject questions. He has come for the job of an English teacher, so he will be asked questions on the subject English and the expected jobs he has to do as an English teacher. Then he will also be asked about his style of teaching. What is your methodology? We call it in teaching as pedagogy. Then you have the next point, and that is what skills. Will you be able to manage the job? Those are the skills required. It is not spelt out in the paper in your degree certificate. That is not spelt out. You have to show it in talking about this. Of course, all these points are covered in the next part of the interview. Let us see all these aspects of the interview now. Amar's interview continues with subject questions. Miss Annie asks, Mr. Amar, could you pronounce the words FACADE and RENDEZVOUS? Amar says, yes, ma'am. FACADE, facade. RENDEZVOUS, rendezvous. Miss Annie says, good. How will you explain these words to students? Amar says, I shall put them in contexts which students of that age can understand. Give the meaning and make them use the words frequently till they become proficient in using them. Amar's interview of subject questions continues. Miss Annie says, will you be able to teach Shakespeare's play The Merchant of Venice? Please treat us as your students and give a demonstration. Amar gives a demonstration of how to teach the text to 10th class students. Miss Annie says, "How will you help students to understand the language of 400-year-old English literature texts?" Amar says, "I shall first explain the archaic words, that is, words which are no longer used in modern English. Then I will try to educate them about how these texts have helped to evolve modern English." Amar's interview continues about his teaching style. The principal asks, "How will you motivate those students who do not know any English? Will you be able to make them speak confidently?" Amar replies, "Yes, ma'am, I'm sure I will be able to do that. First, I will give them simple words and sentences to learn and understand. Then I will make them listen to or watch children's stories, preferably animated ones. Then I will make them read simple dialogues so that they become familiar with speaking. Then I shall make each student say something in class so that they get over the fear of speaking English. Finally, I will try to find opportunities for a few of them to speak in school functions so that it motivates their classmates to also aim for that." Amar's interview continues with questions about his skills. The principal says, "Mr. Rahman, you may continue. I have no more questions." The headmaster says, "Now, Mr. Amar, tell us how you will maintain discipline in a class which is behaving badly." Amar replies, "Sir, I will first try to get to know each student's interest and the level of their language. Then I will change my teaching style to suit their needs and interests. In this way, I will try to keep them actively involved in the class so that they don't have time to make mischief." Now we have the conclusion of Amar's interview. The headmaster says, "If you can do this, then you will prove to be a valuable addition to our school." The principal says, "That will be all, Mr. Amar. Thank you. We will get in touch." Amar says, "Thank you, madam. I shall look forward to hearing from you." "Thank you, sir. Thank you, Annie, ma'am. Have a good day." Now you have seen the whole interview, the entire process of interviewing a candidate for the job of an English teacher in the 10th class. Not only does Amar have to teach the 10th class students literature and, of course, language, good English, but he has to teach also spoken English to people who do not know any English. The vernacular medium is the language, the mother tongue or the local language, other than English. So these students are going to learn English from the beginning. They don't know anything. He gives many examples for each of them. Each person who's trying for a teaching job will have to explain how he or she will teach that subject, how to make this subject interesting, And this is what Amar does in the interview. You can make out from the way in which the questioners, the interviewers react, that they are quite happy with him. And that you find in the conclusion when they tell him that we'll get in touch with you. Now, Amar has to also show interest. How will the employers know that he's really interested in this job? That he's not appearing for the interview just to pass time. Therefore, he says that he will also wait to hear from them. That is a very, very significant sentence. Often you might be asked about salary, or you might be asked about the place where you have applied. They might ask you questions by saying, how are you suitable to this job? How will the organization fit in with your own capabilities and your goals, career goals? Then you have to do some research about the organization also. All these things you need to do before you appear for the interview. That is why Deep had told Amar, prepare well for the interview. Find out not only what you are applying for. Like somebody was applying for a job in a school which belongs to a religious organization. So before the interview begins, the HR asks him questions about his religious affiliation. Will he be able to fit in to this group where everybody has some particular leaning towards religion? You are expected to go every morning to the prayer. You are expected to teach the children something about the lives of great saints, etc. So apart from teaching English or teaching chemistry, you will have to teach all these things. Will you be able to do that? That is where you have to tell them that yes, I can do it, or you say no, I cannot. And then of course there is no subject interview for you because you don't fit into that organization. These are important points to remember, that are you appearing for the interview just because you want to gain experience, or are you sincerely looking for this job? Are you eager to get this job? All these points come through. So when you look at the answers, when you analyze the entire interview, especially those of you who are preparing for an interview, you will get many pointers here which just my explaining will not be able to help you do. That you have to remember. So I hope all of you are benefiting from this video. Please like, subscribe if you haven't done already. Share, because many people are asking me this. So share it widely and comment if you want to ask something or if you want to say something. Please do not repeat the comments which you've given. Those of you who comment every day, I feel very happy. I congratulate you. But some of you write the same comment for every video. That is something which needs to be avoided. All the best and thank you.